before you start, just remind me again the use of this. I mean, I have to be a little bit careful about.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's basically for our assignment. We have to do a campaign and website and have create content, create interactivity and stuff like that. And we decided to do one based on anti-fees.
Yeah.
And we thought, obviously, one of our friends live in Redcar, and you were one of the Lib Dems that actually voted against the reduction in central government funding. So we just want your views. Okay. We're not, although we are campaigning against it, we're not going to turn your interview into, or Ian Swales says that this is bad.
Right.
It's going to be, we're proto-journalists. We're just getting your views.
That's fine. Yeah. I'm happy with that. I just wanted to be reminded. I mean, if this was for some kind of
vendetta type thing.
Well, out on Labour Party home or whatever they call it by tomorrow. I mean.
No.
And of course, anyway, I'll touch on something important in the interview in a second. Yeah. Okay.
So, Mr. Swales, could you please summarise your views on the proposed rise in tuition fees?
Well, I voted against the rise in tuition fees because I do believe that giving young people that amount of financial commitment for the future, makes it a difficult start for them in life when they might be starting families, trying to buy houses and so on. Having this hanging over them is a lot. And in fact, it was one reason I came into politics originally, was because I do feel that higher education is one of the ways out of poverty and one of the ways that people can improve themselves. And I wasn't happy with Labour originally introducing tuition fees when they said that they wouldn't. So, that actually got me into politics some time ago. And so really, I had to vote against it.
Would it be all right if I picked the mic up? Would it go and shot? No, I mean, just to point it more direct to Mr.
Okay.
Swales. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
What advice would you offer to your constituents who rule out university because they believe that it will become too expensive?
Well, I think one of the important things about the new system is that the Liberal Democrats, and it was the Liberal Democrats, forced the system to be both capped in level and also very progressive in terms of how the repayments are made. Certainly our coalition partners were looking at an uncapped system, which would have resulted in very high payments back. So what I would advise young people to do is look carefully at the monthly repayments against what you're going to borrow, because if you end up earning 21,000 or less, you actually won't pay anything back at all. If you're earning 25,000 a year, the monthly repayments are £30, and they're actually less than today's system. So I do advise young people to think about the progressive nature of the payments, the monthly payments that they'll be faced with, and to look again and to actually realise that they can afford to go into higher education.
Are there examples of the way fees are handled in other countries that you think could be introduced in England?
Well, that's interesting. I think most countries have some sort of fee system. I think the idea that you can have 40% plus of young people going to university, many of them ending up in better paid jobs at the expense of the state, I think most countries now have recognised that that's unsustainable. So, but certainly I think there is a bit more subsidy in some countries. What I want to see is people, and I think the new system will help to do this, people getting what they pay for. And I think students will look much more closely at what they get for the money. Even at the current level of £3,000 a year, I talk to some young people who I don't think are getting value for money. And if those same courses become £9,000 a year, I think students will vote with their feet and go and find courses that either cost less or give them more.
Do you think that business sponsorship for UK students should be increased?
Well, definitely. I do think business generally, not just for higher education, but for apprenticeships and further education, needs to get more involved in the training of the future workforce. And we're already seeing some examples. I think KPMG, the accountancy firm, are talking about taking on people at 18 and then paying for them to go through university. And this is happening more and more with industrial companies as well, where I've met young people who are taking apprenticeships at 18, which include a university degree, maybe done on a part-time basis. And I think we'll find more and more employers will recognise that to get the best young people, they need to help them with their education.
Finally, do you think that the results of this election has reflected how people feel about tuition fees?
You're talking about the elections today?
The election today, yes, sorry. The local elections.
Yeah, okay. Well, I haven't seen all the results yet, but certainly if we look at the trends that I saw earlier today, there's no doubt that people have voted against the two parties that are in the government. Actually, that's a feature of all local elections, really. So if you look back at the trends. So it's difficult to say what specifically they're voting against. Certainly, tuition fees has been a factor. But it's worth reminding people that the Liberal Democrats fixed their policies at conference, and we remain the only major party who's trying to reduce or get rid of tuition fees. So, you know, we've been demonised by both the media and the NUS and obviously the Labour Party, often for political reasons. But actually, we are the only party campaigning for lower tuition fees for students, and it remains a policy. It was reaffirmed at our conference last September. So, yeah, I think these election results, obviously they're disappointing for the Liberal Democrats, although again I think the media pointing to some bad results in the north, but we have to remember that in most of the major cities in the north, the Conservatives don't have any councillors. So if you look at the results in Newcastle, yes, it's Lib Dem losses, but there aren't any Tories to lose in Newcastle. So although it might look disproportionate, it's just because we're the main challengers to Labour in so much of the north of England.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Right? That's spot on. That. Thank you very much for your time. We know you've had a busy time.